Okay, no takes, just going all in, no script, no nothing, just 100% real me, stuttering, figuring things out and all. Ah, well, perfect way to start things. Long time no see, guys, it's Super Toro Remix here. Just start this whole thing off by letting you all know that I'm alive for one thing and doing quite well at the moment. Still not 100% ready to come back full time into production just yet. I've had a couple of ideas I've tried executing on and off, but haven't really gone anywhere. This when it comes to mashups in particular. Uh, and then, just outside of that, I've had a pretty decent time off of YouTube and social media for a while, and I'm probably still going to continue to not 100% go back in just yet. But yeah, I just thought to make this real quick, just give you guys just a bit of an update on how things have been and how I'm feeling now. You know, just give you a heads up to say that it might not be anything brand new for a little while longer. I might upload some older material in the meantime, just to keep you guys sated. But I will say this: I think going forward, if I do end up making new material again at some point, I won't be sticking to an upload schedule. It's going to be more akin to whenever I make something or whenever I feel like it, and that's when I will polish it, get it uploaded, and it'll be done and dusted. One, because it gives you more breathing space, and two, I don't feel as much self-imposed pressure. Because leading up to this, I was trying really hard to stick to some kind of schedule to make sure that you guys were getting content as regularly as I could muster. But I kind of self-prophesized my own crash and burn, basically. And yeah, so I'm just going to take things a little bit easier from now. I'm not going to go super hard in. And I'm just going to take my time, just going to mess around to see what works and what doesn't. And honestly, I'm just going to wait until, how should I put this lightly? Until everything surrounding King of the Monsters has cools down quite a fair margin. And I will say that I did see it with a few friends of mine a couple of weeks ago, on the 31st of May to be exact. And I came out probably more cynical and jaded as a Godzilla fan than I've ever been up to that point and as of now. I can safely say that outside of a few bits and pieces which I did enjoy, King of the Monsters was probably the most disappointment I've ever experienced with a Godzilla film. I don't hate the film. There are certain aspects of it I did take away from it and enjoy, but overall, due to a combination of factors, I just didn't really find it to be worth the hype, or in this case, the overhype. And I mean overhype. I'll get into detail about that in 1 second. What we got, to me, none of excitement I felt from that initial Claire de Lune trailer was present in this film. Like, don't get me wrong. Again, I don't hate King of the Monsters, and I am absolutely happy that a lot of you are finding it to be what you all hoped it to be, and are having a good time with it and think it's a good film and so on and so forth. That's absolutely fine. I have no problem with that. But I think it's safe to say that I'm definitely not one of them. I am definitely not one of them. I'm not sorry to say this, because this is how I generally feel about the film. And for me, the really big red flags, because there are a couple, but the big one was coming into 2019 and the huge push in advertising, especially when it comes to all the TV spots and trailers and just all the stuff they had shown off, only for me to realise while watching the final film that a good chunk of the monster scenes, at least, were used for the advertising campaign, and very little was saved for the final film. Case in point, during adverts and stuff, we did see a pretty decent chunk of the Rodan versus King Ghidorah fight. And then what I found in the final product was they just kind of flew into each other, spun around for a bit, and then Rodan literally just gets punked and slammed straight to the bottom of the ocean. And the point I'm trying to make here is, up until the point where the film came out, they were going hard in. And I mean, they were doing the Xbox One consoles. There was that PUBG and Fortnite crossover campaign. Again, the endless advertisements and TV spots. I won't lie in saying that due to experiences with previous movies and how the run up to those turned out, it did seem desperate. It seemed like something Sony would do in regards to how they would promote some of their movies. Or better yet, Terminator Genesis, which is kind of ironic actually because I forget the name of that plane, but there's the aircraft that Monarch used in the film, and when they're trying to get away from Rodan using that one airship, and I swear they are using Terminator Genesis physics to get that thing inside the ship. And well, and we all kind of know how King of the Monsters turned out, both critically and financially. Not horrendous, but not great either. And oh boy, oh boy. It's like I said, there were certain parts of the film I really did enjoy. Like, me personally, King Ghidorah, for the very brief moments we did see him, he was done absolute justice. The whole three heads with the different personalities and the whole naming thing, especially with the whole Kevin meme recently, that stuff's actually quite cool. And the motion capture and how each head interacted emotionally and responded to each other, that was really cool to see. And along kind of a similar vein, I do find the whole alpha system between the Titans quite intriguing. So okay, I know it doesn't really mean much around here anymore, but here's a spoiler alert in case you're probably one of the odd few that still hasn't seen King of the Monsters yet. So I'm just throwing this one out there. I will be going into spoilers. I do like the whole Titan system. So when King Ghidorah, when Godzilla's been OD'd, and King Ghidorah's there and Rodan's bowing down, and they explain it because the whole Titan system, all the Titans are now responding to Ghidorah as he's the supposed alpha now. In concept, I do find it to be a pretty intriguing idea because don't quote me on this one, but that sort of thing is actually quite reminiscent to what you see in nature. So I thought that was actually quite a cool idea. And overall, the soundtrack was pretty good overall. I have no qualms with the Godzilla covers, like with Godzilla's theme and Monster's theme. Those were done really well. Some of the other material, the more original material made for the film, I'm a bit 50-50 on, to be honest. I do like Ghidorah's theme made for the film, because to my understanding, they couldn't quite get Ghidorah's Toho theme for reasons. I'm not sure what the truth is for that. So, yeah, King Ghidorah's theme was quite cool, and I did like the making of that and the whole chanting behind that one. Rodan's theme, I'm a bit iffy on. I like certain parts of it, but others not so much. And in the rest of the soundtrack, again, it's varied for me. You do have some pretty good stuff, and then you just have tracks that just do the job, which at the end of the day is absolutely fine. It just serves the film, and considering what they're going for, the soundtrack for the most part held up, so no complaints there. What else? In regards to, there was one bit of humour in the film I did find genuinely funny, and it was a scene where oh god, I don't remember the character names, but I'm trying to remember their actors. when Millie Brown's and Charles Dance's characters are in the elevator and they have that little body language exchange, that actually was quite funny. So props to them on that one. Uh, Trying to think, Mothra was pretty awesome. They did the build up to her pretty well. And I didn't realize about the whole twin fairy thing until way after, and when it was kind of pointed out on the internet and whatnot and so forth. So okay, I was kind of wondering how that was going to be tackled, but okay, here it is. Just trying to think of what else there was, and overall, I can say in confidence that the first, no, not the first half, all the way up to when they released Ghidorah from the ice, I felt that was pretty solid. There was pretty decent build up. There was the whole aftermath of 2014. There was the whole family dynamic, which at first was all right. They did play that pretty well. The whole world pooping its pants because now there's the presence of giant monsters and they're trying to get to the bottom of it. The presence of bioterrorists, I do really dig that. It's been a while since, probably the second time since we had bioterrorists in Godzilla after Biolante, I think. Yeah. So, King Ghidorah, Mothra, the soundtrack to an extent, and again the one humorous scene with Millie Brown and Charles Dance in the elevator, and just that whole bit getting up to releasing Ghidorah from the ice, I thought was good. I enjoyed that. It was a pretty good build up. But after Ghidorah breaks free from the ice and when he's unleashed, and that's where for me the whole film just kind of went south in nearly every aspect. Again, minus the soundtrack, but I digress. So, again, going back to what I said earlier about just how much they used for the advertising campaign and just how much was put out there. Going back to Rodan, especially Rodan. Rodan was hyped up pretty high, I should say. Especially Rodan, he was hyped up pretty high in the run up to the film's release, and he just got punked about all the time, and we barely got to see him. And once again, the Rodan versus Mothra fight in the climax, that too was used up quite a bit for the advertising campaigns, and pretty much the only thing that was saved for the rest of the film was them probably. I'm just going off memory because it's been a couple of weeks and I'm still trying to get my thoughts together. They don't really do much. They just hit each other a few times, and then I'm just talking about stuff that was saved for the film and not used for the advertising campaign. And once Mothra just takes him out, that's pretty much him rendered useless for the rest of the film, and up until that scene, which I will get to later. So now we come down to probably my biggest issue with the entire movie. And this is the reason why, at the very end of it, I found King of the Monsters as an overall package to be quite a mess. And I don't mean in a good way. The film seems to struggle really badly, not only what it wants to focus on, but where it wants to focus on. A lot of the time, the camera work is kind of something straight out of a Michael Bay Transformers film. I'm so sorry, but now looking back on it, because of how shaky the goddamn camera is whenever there's a big action scene going on, it honestly reminds me so much of a Michael Bay Transformers movie, because there are moments where the damn camera can't keep still. And in before coming in with the whole shaky ground realism thing, this is meant to be focusing on the big spectacle action scenes, and we don't really get much of that because the camera is just... It's like a roller coaster. Yeah, that's the best way I can describe it. It's like a roller coaster, but there's way too much rocking about. There's not too many moments where it kind of slows down and there's that build up. It just goes zigzag all over the place. And as a result, I found everything else suffered. The story, the pacing of the film. There were some scenes that went way too quick, and there were other scenes that dragged out way too long. Yeah, it was not great. It was not great. Like I said earlier, I enjoyed the story up until they broke Ghidorah out of the ice, but because of how indecisive the film suddenly became once Ghidorah broke out of the ice, it really just suffered, and what we got in its place was just stuff that we kind of just saw coming a mile away with uh, again, I'm terrible with names, but the mother character, the one who goes crazy eco warrior at the very beginning. Um, Her redemption, I kind of saw that coming by the time the film was getting towards the final act, pretty much. And by then, because of how everything transpired and so on and so forth, I just didn't really feel anything. Because of how hard the film tried to juggle A, B, and Z and D, a lot of exciting moments that had a lot of build up didn't really get much payoff, I felt. A lot of these really awesome epic moments that should have been great didn't really feel that to me. I just can't quite put my finger on it, but it's just because the way everything's been juggled up and how they decided to empathize their focus on certain aspects of the film. A lot of the hype just doesn't really go anywhere. I'm just trying to think of an example off the top of my head. Again, Rodan as a whole. It Yeah, my mind's all over the place right now. Please do excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Um, I'm just gonna say right now that whenever I've experienced something with regards to the film, I can usually recall it. But right now, I'm having a tough time actually trying to. Yeah, I don't really remember any. Oh dear, yeah, I can't really recall anything in particular at all, and that's how I kind of just felt for the last half of the film. Nothing was exciting anymore. Uh, I ain't no movie critic, and I'm certainly not the greatest writer in the world. So a lot of this is probably just coming out of my mouth. But uh, yeah, I think in summarization, um, I'm definitely not one of those fans that thinks it's an awesome film or even a great Godzilla film. If it wasn't for the aspects I mentioned earlier, if it wasn't for any of those, Ghidorah, Mothra, the soundtrack, the certain aspects of the story, King of the Monsters would pretty easily rank near the bottom of my favorite Godzilla films. It would be in my least favorite, in my top five least favorite bracket by quite a large margin. Uh, Again, I'm happy you guys enjoyed it, seemingly, and I'm pleased it's getting some positive reception. Shut up, phone. But I'm not one of them. I just don't see it. I didn't feel it. All I see in its place is just something that had potential. And that's like the saddest part of all of this. From beginning to end, there were little glimpses here and there of what King of the Monsters could have been. And the director and all the members of staff on production, so on and so forth, I have no ill will against them at all. I'm pretty sure they had every good intention and goodwill in the world to make this a good movie, but I just don't know what happened. I just don't know what happened because that is not what we got. What we got was just a mess, really. Just a film that it tries too hard, but at the same time, it doesn't try hard enough. It tries too hard in the sense that it's trying to be serious and silly at the same time, and it's just going back and forth and all over the place. And again, going back to pacing, as a result, some stuff drags out and other stuff goes way too fast. it's a spectacle movie that tries to be something more, but as a result, it kind of just falls flat on its face in all those aspects. In regards to the MonsterVerse, looking back on it, you have G14, which I know a lot of people have grievances with now, but I can safely say that I enjoyed G14 more than I have King of the Monsters. G14 did a lot more right than King of the Monsters has, in my opinion. And I stand by what I stand by what I'm gonna say, and G14's just a better made movie in general. Yes, we didn't get to see much Godzilla, but considering it is now the introduction to the MonsterVerse, that build up was kind of necessary, and it was an alright movie at best, but it was a great way to bring Godzilla back to the West. Then you have Kong Skull Island, which isn't a good movie by the stretch of the imagination, but it embraced its stupidity and it actually knew how to have fun and have fun properly. So, yeah, I had real fun with Kong Skull Island. Whereas, comparing those two with King of the Monsters, I didn't really get either. Even when the movie was trying so hard to pander to fans with the endless strain of references left and right and all the Easter eggs. In G14, again, the one Easter egg in that film, to my knowledge, the Mothra name on the that tank, the Mothra name on that tank, that was great because it was subtle enough that it's one of those things where if you miss it, you'll miss it, but if you look close enough, you'll see it. And that's the only one, to my knowledge, in that entire film. Whereas with King of the Monsters and its ongoing effort to try and hype itself up to be this great big fan-made epic, a lot of the references and so on and so forth, while I found them to be nice, because of how much there was and just how much they tried to ram it in your face, I felt, it didn't really mean anything to me. And I think the biggest offender is how they did the Oxygen Destroyer. Oh boy! The Oxygen Destroyer in King of the Monsters. Oh, don't get me wrong. And ironically, that was at first when they first name dropped the Oxygen Destroyer and they were going to implement it. I was literally like, no way! That actually is pretty cool. And I actually was quite curious to see how they're going to implement it. But, it was a literal throwaway reference, sprinkled with a nice shiny flash explosion on top. That's the Oxygen Destroyer, everybody. It's probably, because considering how things are probably going to go, I would not be surprised if, because of this, Destroyer turns up in some shape or form. I don't know. Yeah, again, I'm having a really tough time trying to piece together my thoughts in regards to this film because, again, I wanted to love it. I really did, and again, going back to the very first trailer with Claire de Lune in it, that really good trailer, and then everything else that followed. Someone somewhere must have known it was not going to turn out as good as they thought it was. And as a result, they just went all in on the merchandise and the advertising campaign, which I'm saying in general is not a bad thing, but because of how hard they went in and how hard they tried shoving it down our throats, again, that just reeks of desperation to me. And after seeing the film, I can honestly see why. And now, as a result, Godzilla vs. Kong's getting delayed. The film's not doing as well as they expected it to. Even though they seemingly are shrugging it off, which, okay, I guess. Again, I just came out of King of the Monsters feeling more cynical as a Godzilla fan than I've ever felt previously. And then in the aftermath, especially around these parts, and then just looking up Godzilla as a search result, and just seeing the endless wave of theory videos, discussion videos, and Fortnite and PUBG videos, this was not how I wanted things to turn out. This was not how I wanted things to turn out. Ideally, what I would have wanted, well, one, for it to be a better film, and two, I don't know, actually inspire the community to be a lot more creative. I ain't saying that's everything that's come out recently. I'm pretty sure there's a few bits I have missed here and there that's been probably just sprinkled out, but uh, and this is part of the reason I'm not exactly rushing to make mashups just yet, because my between seeing King of the Monsters and now, my general enthusiasm is honestly an all-time low. And while I'm still going to see Godzilla vs Kong when it does finally come out, I'm not going to lie in saying that any hype and excitement I have for that is deflated by quite a wide margin. So, again, I hate to come off as one of those people, but I ain't going to sit here and sugarcoat. I ain't gonna sit here and just sugarcoat everything that they bring out. I'm calling it as I'm seeing it, and quite frankly, King of the Monsters, while not horrendous, could have been so much better. It could have been way better than it was. And now I've already read somewhere that apparently the film was meant to be 3 hours, and I swear to God, if we see a Godzilla equivalent to the Snyder cut, then yeah, that's kind of where the state of things are right now, and I'm not exactly the most optimistic because of how things have turned out, and uh, yeah, again, I don't mean to come off as like this, but yeah, I'm not really big on King of the Monsters like some of you guys probably are, which again, that's absolutely fine. You guys, if you love the film, all the more power to you. I'm happy. If you guys think it's the best thing ever, then I have no problem. People are allowed to have choice. Then that's fine. So what I do have a slight problem with, and I get no one likes a critic, but trying to shut down any negative opinions on this film in general, and I have seen it around. I'm not saying this is everyone in the community, but I have seen it around, especially with certain YouTubers who I won't say by name, but because of how they've been treated, especially when I see the name of a video called "The Godzilla Community is Toxic" or something similar along the lines, I just get to a point where, do I really want to be associated with that? And it's that's this is kind of going back to what I said earlier about this is not how I wanted things to turn out at all. So I get there's liking the film, but please don't try and silence anyone who might think otherwise, because not everyone is going to like this film, as you guys are probably aware. And I'm not just talking about the critics. I'm also talking about Godzilla fans. I've seen quite a number of Godzilla fans who have not only disliked this film, but have probably outright hated this film. So, all I'm asking is, if you see any sort of criticism or opinion that you don't quite agree with, then just be more mature about it, okay? Come on, you guys are better than this. Where is that spirit that we had months earlier when we were trying to get that one Godzilla fan to see the film early before he was due to pass on? Where's that spirit gone? I've been out of the game for a tiny little bit, so I might be missing a few pieces here and there, granted, but just what I've been seeing on and off in the meantime. And to cap all this off, I'm still not a fan of the G19 redesign for the legendary Godzilla. And because of how things turned out in the film, the comments I made about it last year when it was first revealed in monster arts form are now what I consider to be cemented, especially during the final scene in the film, which is probably the most fanfictionist thing, the most fanficky thing I should say, thing I've ever witnessed. The whole redesign for the legendary Godzilla just screams fan pandering down to the enlarged toes, the sound mixing with the original Godzilla roar, the spines, and again, all hail the king with the titans bow down to him. not for me. Not for me. This film, it tried too hard to please the fans that I kind of just felt it tumbled, but then rather trying to get itself back up, it just dragged itself, insisting that it can still make it on its own foundations. And yeah, that's pretty much the best way I can put it out there as of right now. I don't hate King of the Monsters. I don't think it's the worst thing ever, but I did find it a genuine disappointment. Probably, again, the most disappointment I've ever experienced with a Godzilla film. And I I didn't want to make a brand new video starting out like this, but considering my lack of enthusiasm and drive to make mashups as of right now, because of this being one of the reasons, I kind of felt that, yeah, I gotta basically just get this off my chest and then just be honest with you guys. So, yeah, King of the Monsters. We are where we're at now, and I just hope that Warner Brothers know what they're doing and Godzilla vs. Kong turns out to be, at the very least, better executed. Because the biggest thing going against King of the Monsters on a good chunk on all of its fronts is the execution. There were some great bits, there were some great foundations, I could see it, there were some great concepts set in the film. It had every potential to be better than it was, but again, I just don't know what the heck happened, but that's not what we got. And at times, it kind of reminded me of the 90s Heisei films in terms of just nearly everything, really. Yeah, I'm just going to end it here because otherwise I'm just going to blabber it on forever. So, well, hopefully the next video will be a slightly more positive one. And again, I'm glad for those who did enjoyed the film and got a good time out of it. And I will catch you guys next time. See you then. And I would love to say Hail the King, Long Live the King, but I don't know, man. I honestly don't know anymore. This is Cinematography Remix signing out.